sorry. It's your boy Gamer Vibes here, and welcome back to another video. Today we will be doing What If Kirito is an Uchiha, Part 4. And before we start the video, so we have decided to cancel What If Naruto had his own Kamui Jutsu. We will be continuing the Asta series, and maybe a few more joining after, but I've really been happy to see this. So, quick recap, he saved Asuna from Elfheim Online, and now we are into the third part. Well, technically this is the fourth part, but third part of the seasons, and that is Gun Gale. So we start off with Kirito and Asuna on a date. Of course, he's, again, explained to her his abilities, but in this, he does have his Mangekyo now, but as it does contradict with some of the things. Samly does do ninjutsu and all that. And this part, let's make it interesting. So, after he spends time with Asuna, he meets with his father, well, not his father, his grandfather, who tells him that he has a gift for them. And they take a train ride to a really old area, and on one of the signs, it just says Hidden Leaf. And he asks what this is, and he says, this was our original home. This is where we came from. And they go to a compound that says Uchiha, and he notices as his family name. And they go into a grave area, where he sees his father's name written down. And from it, up comes, he pulls out a Mangekyo Sharingan in a jar, and he explains this was his father's eye. And for him to evolve, so he doesn't go blind, he's going to take his eye, and then his wife, his grandma, comes in and explains that as much as she doesn't have the Sharingan, she still practices the medical ninjutsu that they had, and of course shows and does the procedure, and it goes well, and his internal EMS unlocks. So now he can't go blind. So we get to people at the school, and then him getting called about someone dying in a game and being asked to investigate. He says yes, and he gets put into Gun Gale. When he spawns in, he again just notices that he still has his Sharingan. He doesn't have his Mangekyo, but he has his Sharingan. Interesting. But of course, it doesn't have the same abilities. It has a few different abilities to adapt to this gun game. So, of course, he meets Sinon, who assumes he's a girl, and they go to the shop. But this time he has a little more money because of the people backing him. But, of course, he still does the running. But this time, before he begins running, he activates his Sharingan. And in this What if you remember, part of the Sharingan was the mind reading technique, which basically allowed you to see what your user was thinking about doing before they did it. Kakashi used it in his fight against Zabuza. He's going to use this on the robot. AI, sort of. What it's going to do in this is it's going to allow him to see the bullet lines before the game even makes them appear. Because he's seeing where the target's about to start shooting from. So, of course, he sees the bullet lines, and in this, the Sharingan also gives him a speed buff, which makes him move faster and also slows down time for him. So he can see everything, and he does it, but this time he gets a lot more gold for winning. And this time he's saying this time here. Okay. And then he goes, and instead of just buying one photon sword, he buys two, strapped to both sides of him, because it seemed more natural. And then he also gets two fully automatic miniature SMGs for backups. And of course, they're like, we're running out of time, and he jumps on the bike, but this time he activates his Sharingan. So while he's going faster than it should be going, he's also adjusting time to do what he wants. That'll become later with his Mangekyo. It should be fun. So, of course, we get to him going through into it, and he goes to the first round, of course, and he uses his photon swords like before. But when he gets to Death Gun approaching him and showing him, and asking if he's the real Kirito and showing him the coffin mark, he gets frayed. And this forces his Mangekyo to unlock. Of course, altered. Very, very, very a lot. When his Mangekyo unlocks, this time it has a specific set of abilities. He still has Susanoo, but it's more of just a body armor around him. And its weapons appear whatever weapons he's holding at the time. But he also has three abilities. Time stop, time slow, and time speed. I can't think of proper names. So basically, his Mangekyo unlocked to have him some ability over time. So of course he can't use the time stop that well, otherwise that's really, really sus of time just stopped and all of a sudden your opponent's there. But he could use it to stop time before the bullets hit him so he can adjust. Also slowing it so he can adjust faster. So then we get into the second round of... This time he's going to be fighting a dude with a full auto machine gun. And he pulls out his twin photon swords. But instead of acting them, a purple... No, we're going to give him a black armor set. A black set of armor appears around him with a helmet. And in his hand is two... blade hilts. And when he activates him, he gets two black swords coming out of just pure light. And of course, he uses these to block the bullets. But then he throws them to the side, pulling out two machine guns. And of course, his giant armor does the same. And all of a sudden, he's shooting machine guns. And they're confused, because when the bullets come out, they have a black flame around them. Of course, no one thinks of it. They're like, oh, it's just a special thing they have. Nothing much. He makes it to the past the rounds. Then we get to where they're in the giant open area, and he's just running. Of course, he still sees Sinon, and then they get to defeating the different teams. When we get to the Death Gun fight, and of course, this time he charges Death Gun with his swords out, but also in full his Susanoo armor around him, charging him. This time, because with Susanoo, his swords are a little bigger than they would be in his normal hand, but it's just like an armor set around him instead of a giant skeleton standing in the air. And then when Death Gun's about to slash straight down, his eyes flash and he stops time for a second. Well, for longer than a second. For this, it just seems like a second because it just stops. But then he looks around at Death Gun's stuff, and then he moves to Death Gun's gun on his back, his pistol, and he unloads it. And then he puts it back with a empty clip, and is planning on moving his swords to slash off the other clips in perfect succession. And then he looks at the gun, and his Sharingan, his Mangekyo, unlocks a fourth ability, which is sort of like an X-ray, and he notices the blade inside the gun. Realizes he's planning on, at some point, tempting him to break part of the gun so he can turn it into a blade. So Kirito plans to just slash straight through it to break the blade. Of course, we get to this. When time starts again, he slows it for a second and spins his blades, slashing off the mag holders, and then slashing, and then he also increases his speed, slashing the gun straight in the middle, breaking the sword. And Death Gun goes to a secondary, puts it up, and Kirito just stops for a moment, tired. And Death Gun pulls the trigger. But nothing happens. He's like, forget to reload. And then Sinon does the fake laser beam. And then Kirito slashes Death Gun's head off. Then we get to him running to them doing the fair thing, and then Sinon fighting off her captor, her friend, what she thought was friend, and then Kirito running and slamming against the wall. And when he goes, stab the thing into him, his eyes transform, and a purple armor appears in front of him, blocking it. And then he squeezes his hand, and black flames encase the dude's hands, and then he slices with a knife in his back pocket his hands off so it doesn't burn the rest of him. And of course, he gets taken to jail, and they're so confused and realize it was just self-defense. No one can hold it against them. It's covered up. And then we get to Sina ask him what that was, and he explains his heritage and who he is, and she laughs. So that's how you did it. Cheater. And he just laughs at hearing cheater. And then he gets to them going... yeah, so we can continue, and then we go through them finding the... what was it? The one quest with Thor and stuff. Yeah, where they're getting, fake AI program tries to take over. And they're getting, the Holy Sword. I can't remember his name now. I remember it later. Excalibur, that's what it was. And of course, this time when he goes to defeat, because this is still in Alfheim, he has all his previous abilities, but this time he can switch which Susanoo form he uses. So he has the winged one, he has his normal one, he has his one around him. He just has different forms of Susanoo, but now he has many Mangekyo abilities. He can control time, he can teleport, he can pull and push people, and he realizes his Mangekyo has evolved. And then during it, his eye transforms to evolve into the Rinna Sharingan, which I just gave him the abilities early, so he has some advantage. And of course, this time he meets this man who says he is the true creator of this world. He is the son of Kaguya, and that you are my reincarnation. And he bestows with him the Sage of Six Path powers, all of it, yin and yang. So he has everything. And of course, this causes his right eye to transform into a... just still his Mangekyo, but his right eye is, of course... well, one of his eyes is the Rinna Sharingan, the other is normal. And of course, we get him to where he's just slashing at the dark god, whatever it was. And then him seeing the Excalibur fall off, and him saying Almighty Pull. Because he didn't reach for Sinon to shoot it and pull it up, where he's holding it. And then the goddess is saying thank you, granting him it. And then we get to, like, Asuna's fight with the one girl. All that stays the same. Then we're going to get to the part where they're getting attacked and Kirito slices magic in half. This time, he summons a full Susanoo, and after slicing the magic with Excalibur, completely decimates the army in a single slash. We continue. He spends lots of time with Asuna, and he explains who he is, who his family is more. And he's also taught jutsus. Well, limited, because they can't... chakra is still there, but it's a lot harder to use. So he learns hand signs and learns fireball, lightning, water bullet. But the main thing he learns is smoke screen, where he just, like, hidden miss jutsu, but it's just with smoke. Of course, some of most of these jutsus can't even be used in the real world. It's weird. Of course, there are still some people who have the original of that. And all that power and stuff. Of course, we have the many things through Gun Gale Online of the different events that go through. But that will be the end of this video. Next part will be Alicization, which I should have some fun with. Well, I'm out. We see you guys again later. Peace. Bye.